Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something really important. We are going to validate that lingering sense of doubt you might be carrying around, and we're going to unmask the quiet, hidden signs of narcissistic manipulation. If you've ever felt like, something was just off in a relationship, but you literally couldn't put your finger on it, yeah, you are in exactly the right place. Honestly, ask yourself this. Why do you leave certain conversations feeling completely confused, like totally spun around? Today we're exploring this through the lens of trauma recovery because, and this is wild, the most dangerous red flags in relationships usually don't look like red flags at all. We're trained to spot the obvious stuff, right? Yelling, put-downs, overtly controlling behavior. But the thing is, by the time those show up, you're already deeply attached.
The reality is, the trap is actually the charm. Narcissistic and manipulative people, they are not reckless early on. They definitely don't come in swinging. Instead, imagine someone who remembers every single tiny detail you mentioned in passing, making you feel like literally the most fascinating person in the room. You walk away thinking, wow, I haven't felt this seen in forever. And hey, that feeling of being seen is entirely real to you, but the intention behind it? It's a carefully designed trap to secure your attachment.
Okay. Let's jump into Section 1, Conditional Connection, focusing on attention and empathy. So, manipulators use connection as a conditional tool, not a genuine bond. And the stark contrast here is really in how their attention operates. See, a healthy person has this sustained, genuine happiness for your wins. But manipulative attention, it turns off like a light switch, the exact second the spotlight shifts away from them. Think about it. When you get good news or someone compliments you, do they lean in and celebrate you, or do they suddenly need something? Do they kind of one-up your moment? A manipulator makes you feel incredibly important, but only when it directly benefits them.
And early on, they seem to say all the right things. But you've got to pay close attention to how their empathy actually operates. Fake empathy usually sounds dismissive, right? Kind of disguised as advice, like, oh, I've been through similar. Or just don't let it bother you. It always redirects back to them. Real empathy, though, is slower. It's curious. It actually says, tell me more about that. It stays with your pain. Whereas the fake stuff, it vanishes the exact moment your pain becomes, well, inconvenient or boring to them. Let's move on to Section 2, the cost of conflict and how vulnerability gets weaponized.
So what actually happens when you try to hold these individuals accountable? Trauma recovery therapists see this deeply painful reality all the time. In a healthy dynamic, the vulnerabilities you share, they stay protected. I mean, that's what intimacy is. But here, your fears, your past wounds, your insecurities, they just get filed away, stored in an arsenal like currency, ready to be used as ammunition during future conflicts. Suddenly, the exact thing you were most afraid of is literally thrown in your face at your most vulnerable moment. It's devastating. And when accountability costs that steep of a price, it creates this deflection loop. Let's say you tell them, hey, that hurt me. Instead of healthy repair, they completely flip the script. Well, your tone is too harsh. Or maybe you point out a dropped ball, and suddenly, you always do this. The result is just maddening. The issue magically becomes your reaction, not their action. And before you know it, you are the one apologizing for how you brought up the thing they did to you. Crazy, right?
Just listen to this quote. You came to the conversation with a wound, and you're walking away with a guilt trip. I mean, wow. That perfectly captures the crushing reality of trying to communicate your pain to someone who just flat out refuses to take any responsibility. You start bracing yourself before every hard conversation. You start softening your own truth just to protect their comfort. And honestly, once you do that, they've successfully taught you that their accountability is completely optional.
All right, Section 3, Testing Limits and Playing the Victim. So these folks quietly establish control through really subtle boundary tests. A manipulative person is constantly reading the room to see exactly what they can get away with. It doesn't look like a massive violation at first. Maybe it's just a little joke that lands wrong or a slight push past your comfort zone. But when you react, they laugh it off or tell you you're being too sensitive. Healthy people, they receive a boundary without the drama and they adjust. Manipulators mock your limits instead, slowly chipping away at your sense of self.
And they mask all this by casting themselves as the perpetual victim. Seriously, listen to their stories about exes, family members, or former coworkers. The pattern is always the same. Everyone else was unfair. There was literally zero self-reflection on their own role in the fallout. And here's a fascinating and honestly tragic psychological fact. Manipulators specifically target highly empathetic people with these sob stories. They know your compassion is a resource. You want to be the one who finally gets it right for them. And they know exactly how to play that against you.
Which brings us to Section 4, the ultimate signal, chronic confusion.
Chronic confusion is that persistent, low-level disorientation. It's that internal alarm bell ringing when you feel like you're walking on shifting ground and nobody told you the rules changed. If you are constantly replaying interactions, wondering what you did wrong, feeling the absolute whiplash of their hot and cold behavior, listen to me. That is not a personality quirk on your end. That is your nervous system accurately reading a toxic pattern way before your logical brain has even caught up.
So ask yourself this really simple but profound question. When is the last time they sat with the possibility that they might actually be wrong? Have they ever paused and said, maybe I'm remembering that differently? If your answer is never, that is a huge red flag. Because in these dynamics, the person doing all the self-reflection and losing sleep, they are rarely the actual problem.
Okay, final section. Reclaiming intuition and self-trust.
We've unmasked the manipulator, right? But how do you actually get your intuition back after going through this kind of emotional abuse? Well, trauma therapists lay out a really clear path forward. First, notice the confusion. When your body feels off, don't talk yourself out of it. Just trust that signal. Second, stop softening your truth. The second you catch yourself managing how you express your pain just to protect their comfort, hit pause and stand firm. And third, consciously look for real empathy and healthy accountability. The goal isn't to walk around terrified of dating or to build a fortress of suspicion. It's to ground yourself in these steps so you absolutely know the difference between someone who wants to know you versus someone who wants to own you.
I want to leave you with this final, empowering thought today. You deserve someone who sees conflict as a chance to understand you better, not as a referendum on whether you deserve to be loved. You absolutely deserve a relationship where being honest isn't a massive risk, and where your boundaries are deeply respected. So as you wrap up this explainer, ask yourself, are you going to settle for conditional warmth? Or are you finally ready to demand the accountable connection you actually deserve?